Okay, so let's dive in. We're taking a look at Ivrem Tirasanen Chikushu.pdf by Gershek Öğretmenim Yasin Kuller. Right.
Right.
You sent this over to me and wanted to kind of break down what exactly is being said here
Yeah.
about evolution, right? So, uh,
Yeah. It's an interesting document,
yeah.
kind of lays out a pretty pointed critique of the theory of evolution.
Yeah, so the first thing that kind of jumps out, at least to me, is this idea of aragisches Fossilare, right?
Yeah.
So intermediate fossils.
Mm.
And basically the argument here, at least as I understand it, is that the fossil record doesn't have those in between forms that you would expect if evolution was actually taking place, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's pushing back on that idea that you should see the kind of clear chain
Right.
of forms.
And it says that the fossils that we do find are either, existing species or extinct species, but they're not these transitions.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's a pretty big kind of like linchpin in this argument.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's saying that if this process has been going on for so long, like we should see a much more robust,
Right.
kind of evidence of that.
Yeah, so then it kind of takes it a step further and says, well, if this has been happening for millions or billions of years, why aren't we seeing it? Why aren't we seeing it happen today?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
It says it's Aklin Muhaldir, which means like intellectually impossible
Hmm.
for such a long process to just stop.
Right. Like it's bringing up this idea that if it was such a fundamental process, driving the development of life, it shouldn't just kind of like
Right.
disappear or stop.
Yeah. Right. It's saying that like we're not seeing it. It's
Yeah.
not observable. Like today we don't see species transitioning in the way that the theory would suggest.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it brings up this question of like time scales, right?
Yeah.
Like what we're able to observe in our lifetime versus these vast stretches of time that evolution is supposed to operate on.
Yeah, yeah. And then it goes on to say that, in modern science there's no data showing kanlelaren birbirin veya başka şeyleri dönüşüp durdurunun, which is basically saying, things transforming into other things.
Yeah, Tim, there's no kind of clear cut like here's this organism turning into this other organism kind of thing
Right.
in the data that we have today.
Yeah. So then it gets into this idea of belief, right? And it says that, because of all this, evolution should be seen more as a belief system rather than a scientific theory.
Right.
And then it kind of puts it in the same category as other beliefs, like belief in Allah, belief in the Quran, and this idea of creation.
Yeah, it's really framing it as a choice between these different ways of understanding where life comes from.
Yeah, and it says that, in Enchéré Vardir, there's freedom of belief.
Mm-hmm.
But then it kind of goes on to suggest that, like there are consequences. There are consequences for believing one thing over the other.
Yeah, it's definitely setting up this dichotomy,
Yeah.
between these two viewpoints.
Right, right. But I think it's important to remember, just as we wrap this up here, that we're looking at the arguments within this document, right?
Right.
And we're just trying to understand like what is being said here.
Yeah, this is not us endorsing or refuting these ideas. It's just laying out what the author of this document
Right.
is putting forward.
So just to kind of go back over real quick.
Yeah.
The main arguments here in Ivarim, Teresi, and Shukushu are the lack of those transitional fossils, right?
Mhm.
The claim that we don't see evolution happening in the present,
Right.
and then the conclusion that because of these things, evolution should be seen as a belief system as opposed to a scientific theory.
Yeah. And that leads to, I think, an interesting question for our listeners. you
Yeah.
know? Like what do we even mean when we say something is scientific?
Right.
How do we judge that?
Yeah.
And how do different ways of looking at the world,
Right.
How do they define what counts as evidence, what counts as proof?
Yeah, that's a good one to ponder for sure. All right. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.